but emphasis on character was just what this middle chapter needed.
The story line was much more difficult. I felt I needed humor in the picture, and yet I couldn't have gags. I felt I needed a love story, and yet I couldn't have a lot of smooching and kissing and all that stuff, and it had to all be more implied. I knew I needed something powerful going on inside Luke's soul. And he really carries the picture, of course. So I didn't know quite how I was going to do this.
In the years since the release of the first Star Wars, now dubbed Episode IV: A New Hope, ILM had come a long way. The company was no longer a fledgling operation, struggling to get by.
At the end of Star Wars, George invited the core group to Northern California to start this whole new facility. There were 10 of us, and I was the only one that immediately came up. And I said, you know, what are you kidding? Stay here in Van Nuys, in this crummy part of town, in this dumpy building, you know, that was inadequate from the very beginning, or move to Marin County and have a new building and have a new film to work on in this great environment. It was like a no-brainer.
Well, I remember George saying, well, this time we got some money. And so that was kind of nice. We talked about, you know, should we top ourselves, or are we going to top ourselves? And I think it was more that, you know, let's just make it look cool. I have some fun with it. And George came up with, you know, some great story stuff.
We started on the Walker, but we also had to build the Probot, which is the probe that is sent down by Darth Vader that lands on the snow planet surface that then goes and looks for human life forms. Joe had already drawn the drawings. George liked that. But they were going to go to Norway to shoot all those scenes, and they needed a prop. They needed one that was like 9 feet tall or something like that in scale to have out in the distance.
The making of Empire was a whole set of problems that we didn't anticipate. The picture was much bigger undertaking than originally conceived. The budget was quite a bit more. Everybody who's dealt with visual effects said, never do snow because you can't maintain the color. We ignored all of those warnings and decided to shoot in the snow anyway. But it was a very time-consuming process. And again, just like in Tunisia, we were in Norway shooting on this glacier, and we had the worst winter in Scandinavia than they had had in 50 years. 20 below zero, 18 feet of snow.
It was a miserable location because we will cross this frozen thing up on this glacier with these tracked vehicles to get there. We had sort of like stakes, like big twigs almost in the ground, about every 6 feet. Because if it started snowing, you get a whiteout. You can't tell where you're going, and it did one night. I drove one of the tracked vehicles, and without these, I never would have found my way back.
We get to Norway, and I couldn't get out of the hotel to shoot because there was a wall of snow that was blown in that night. So we put the camera in the doorway of the hotel, going out the back door. The crew was all inside, toasty warm, and Mark had to go out into the snow and go running away from the ice creature. And we never left the doorway. And he froze to death, and we were fine. We finally shot all the scenes, knowing where the special effects, where this thing would come down, the foot would come down, and all this stuff.
It was really tricky stuff, you know, animating these things on these snowy sets. So initially, I think that the intent was to try and set up scenes that would be blue screen comped into background plates that were shot on location. But this kid showed up at ILM who was this like amazing painter, and so most of the work of the snow walkers and the Tauntauns were done against these painted backdrops that Mike made.
I like the snow walkers. I think that's just a great idea. And I think that the compositing got a lot better, but it was better than it was in Star Wars, and so it's a little bit more believable.
The cast and crew of The Empire Strikes Back were determined to make the second installment of Star Wars worth 3 years of waiting by fans.
Echo Station 5-7, we're on our way. All right, boys, keep tight now.
Luke, I have no approach vector. I'm not set.
Steady, Dak. Attack pattern Delta.
Go now.
As with the first film, principal photography for The Empire Strikes Back was done at Elstree Studios in London. Here, members of the original cast would be introduced to a new principal character, Lando Calrissian, played by Billy D. Williams.
Why, you slimy, double-crossing, no-good swindler.
You got a lot of guts coming here, after what you pulled.
How you doing, you old pirate? So good to see you. I never thought I'd get to see you again.
Well, he seems very friendly.
Yes, very friendly.
It's always interesting to create a character that has it's a sort of dual character. You're not quite sure about him, especially if he's cute. And I was really kind of cute.
Hello, what have we here? Welcome, I'm Lando Calrissian. I'm the administrator of this facility. And who might you be?
Leia.
Welcome, Leia.
All right. You old smoothie.
The Empire Strikes Back also introduced a new villain to the saga, the calculating, cold-blooded bounty hunter, Boba Fett.
What's going on, buddy?
You're being put into carbon freeze.
What if he doesn't survive? He's worth a lot to me.
The Empire will compensate you if he dies. Put him in.
We looked at the scene where Han Solo goes into the freezing chamber.
George had scripted an exchange between Princess Leia and Han Solo, which went like this. She said, "I love you," and Han Solo said, "I love you too." And it kind of seemed to me that we weren't taking advantage of the character that we'd established for Han Solo.
We tried take after take after take. Nothing satisfied me. And finally, I said, Harrison, don't think about it. Don't think about it. Let's do it. Okay, action.
I love you.
I know.
And he dropped in, and I said, cut. I said, yeah, that's a great line. That's Han Solo.
Ironically, the most talked about new character wasn't a human at all, but a 2-foot-tall puppet called Yoda. Designed by Stuart Freeborn and operated by Muppeteer Frank Oz, the tiny creature was a fully realized character and a unique achievement in movie puppetry.
George showed me a few original sketches, and I thought, well, that's interesting, but I want something in more depth, you see. And so I looked in the mirror, and I thought, well, something perhaps a little bit amusing about my face. So I modeled something of myself. Now I've got to make him look intelligent. I got this photograph of Einstein and put the Einstein wrinkles in all around. I did a lot of thinking about it, because he's got to be full of subtle action and movements, especially in the face and the body. And I put it all in, what was necessary, and finally it all worked.
I remember Stuart was under the gun, and it was very tense, very tense. We had to get this thing done. We've got to start shooting with Yoda. And so while we're talking to him, I just had Yoda's head, and I was just playing with it, and I dropped it, and it cracked. So here we are, this is and then Stuart said, I need a drink. I think. So it was terrible, because here we were pressing so much, and I'm the one who screwed it up.
In order to shoot the puppet moving, the set had to be built about 5 feet above the floor of the stage. And we would put holes or ridges where it would stand on top of it, and he could move it along in a certain direction. So it had to be predetermined. On top of the stage were trees, rocks, caves, everything. Now they couldn't hear above, and Mark couldn't hear Frank Oz. How do you do a scene? You can't hear each other. I give Mark a lot of credit for this.
I can remember this little voice called over to me, Norman, he said, and I actually blushed because it seemed so real, this weird little thing.
It was tremendously difficult physical work. The whole floor was about 3.5, 4 feet high, so I could be underneath the floor. And then I would hold my hand up and through a hole or whatever. And I remember Kirsch was talking to me, but he wasn't talking to me. Sometimes talk to Yoda. I'm saying, Kirsch, I can't hear you. I'm down here under the floor.
Look a bit more towards the lens. The other way.
But the pressure was extreme because I was taking too much time. And the reason I was taking too much time is the first time this has ever been done. You know, I had somebody doing the cables for the ears, and somebody else was doing the cables for the eyes, and somebody was doing the left hand. So I had, me and 3 other people trying to bring one character to life.
Center those eyes a bit.
To the right.
Yeah, just 1 second.
The eye this
there.
way.
Yeah? That's a bit too far. There, that's it. This eye's right there.
That's good, Graham. Okay, we'll go back into that. Ready.
All right.
I followed my feelings.
You are reckless.
So was I, if you remember.
He is too old. Yes. Too old to begin the training.
I'm not afraid.
Oh. You will be. You will be. Sorry. No problems.
That was like a real leap, because if that puppet had not worked, the whole film would have been down the tubes. It just, it would have been a disaster if it had been this silly little Muppet, if it had been Kermit running around in that movie. The whole movie would have collapsed under the weight of it.
340E, take 2, A and B cameras.
While many individuals helped bring Yoda to life, it was Mark Hamill's believable performance that made audiences accept the character.
Is the dark side stronger?
No. But the busier, more seductive.
But how am I to know the good side from the bad?
You will know when you are calm, at peace.
For Hamill, playing a Jedi in training was more than just a physical challenge. It was also an emotional one.
I was the only human being on the call sheet for months. It would say, actor Mark Hamill, part Luke, props, snakes, lizards, robots, smoke machines, Gila monsters.
If you choose the quick and easy path, as Vader did, you will become an agent of evil, and the galaxy will be plunged deeper into the abyss of hate and despair.
Are you standing right in front of the light?
Yeah. Didn't he bite me? He just took it was a little love nip.
Frank Oz and his crew were there, but they get buried down underneath the ground. So I had an earpiece where I could hear, oh, many years have you... And then if you turned your head the wrong way, you'd pick up Radio 1, and it was the Rolling Stones singing Fool to Cry. I remember I reacted to that. I went, hey, I got the Stones. And Kirshner got cut. And he's way across the bog saying, if that happens again, just pretend like you don't hear it, because with all the elements of that set, the smoke, is the smoke good? Is the snake, poke the snake, get the snake to move. He's just lying there. So you felt, let's get our priorities straight, because I'm concerned about how did I come off in the scene. They were looking at everything but me.
I have to say, was you wouldn't want to fall in that pool. By the time we finished shooting, it's full of all sorts of wildlife and bugs. It was absolutely foul after all those weeks of being in there, sort of stagnant water.
I don't believe it. That is why you fail.
As elaborately detailed as the sets were at Elstree Studios, equally impressive was the work done in California. ILM was able to produce special effects that were light years ahead of those seen in the first Star Wars.
If you look at Star Wars, you're either kind of in space, and they're all, and maybe the Death Star's back there, maybe it isn't, and you have a number of shots on different planets. If you look at Empire, and it's broad, you've got a speeder sequence and 2 or 3 big dogfights. You've got the whole Cloud City and all the interiors of different landscapes that are way beyond what we've done before. So I think it was the breadth of the work that I think differentiates that from the first show. And each one of those sequences required different problem-solving skills.
We did this incredible chase through the asteroid field. Designing asteroids is not as easy as you think, and I remember many of us in the model shop tried to come up with something that would look good, and I think for some of the very far ones we had used potatoes.
The biggest problem I had is it just wasn't going fast enough, and I was running out of money. Irvin Kershner was an extremely good director, but the film went over budget, went over schedule, and all the money I had in Star Wars was committed to this film plus more.
We shot several scenes in Empire over again. There's a scene in Cloud City where Han Solo character is kind of pacing up and down, and Princess Leia comes in, and he reacts to the way she looks because she's dressed differently than she has in the entire rest of the film.
You look beautiful. You should wear girls' clothes all the time.
We looked at the dailies and we weren't happy with anything, really. The attitude of the actors was too obvious.
Sit down. Come on, talk to me.
And we could have let that go, but it just didn't feel right.
6 retake. Action.
I hope Luke made it to the fleet all right.
I'm sure he's fine. He's probably sitting around wondering what we're up to right now.
You know, your friend Lando's very charming, but I don't trust him.
Trust him. He's an old friend of mine.
And Slade.
So we shot it in a slightly more subtle fashion, which is the way it's in the film now.
I don't trust Lando.
Well, I don't trust him either. He is my friend. Besides, he'll soon be gone.
And then you're as good as gone, aren't you?
Although most production challenges had been anticipated and expectations were understandably high, when Empire went over budget by $10 million, Lucasfilm suddenly found itself in a fiscal crisis.
The Force is with you, young Skywalker. But you are not a Jedi yet.
3 of the top executives of Bank of America Entertainment walked into my office saying, we have to pull you a loan. And I said, how can the largest bank in the entertainment business, with the sequel to the most successful movie ever out, be wanting to pull my loan? And they said, well, we have a new credit manager, and he just has a rule. Budget doubles, he pulls the loan. One of the bankers quit over it. They knew it was a big mistake, but, you know, I was stuck with trying to make $1 million payroll that Friday.
Release your anger. Only your hatred can destroy me.
That was the big difference between the studio system and the independent view of filmmaking. The studio have a large resource to draw on for what they do, and independents don't. So it's a much tighter situation.
I was just hoping the bank to allow me to finish without going back to 20th Century Fox and giving away all my rights. Because that's ultimately what my other choice was to just simply let them own it and lose my independence. But I wanted my independence so badly We managed to do it in a way that I paid them just a little bit more money, but they didn't get any of the licensing and they didn't get any of the sequels, and that's what I was trying to hold on to. If I had to pay a few extra points in order to get them to guarantee a loan with the bank, I could do that. And I think Fox was just as concerned that the movie get finished as we were.
While Empire's budget may have been tight, security during the production was even tighter. Only Lucas, Kirshner, and the film's producers knew the real story.
At the time, I knew that Mark had a father and that it was Darth Vader. But this was not in the script. There was a false page inserted. And I had the knowledge. The actors didn't even have it. No one had it. It was a total secret.
Script was under lock and key, the models were under lock and key, ILM was under lock and key and shrouded from the rest of the world. The storyline of the movie was under lock and key.
You are beaten. It is useless to resist.
The film's shocking climax, in which Darth Vader reveals Luke Skywalker's true parentage, was kept a secret from nearly everyone, even David Prowse and Mark Hamill. Hamill was told privately, just moments before the cameras rolled.
I met with Mark and said, you know that Darth Vader's your father. What?
They had taken me aside and said, this is what he's really going to say.
And we're going to do the scene. And Darth Vader will be saying stuff that doesn't count. Forget it. Use your own rhythm compared to what he's doing.
There is no escape. Don't make me destroy you.
We did a few takes, and he finally got into it.
Join me, and I will complete your training.
And here's Darth Vader, who had his dialogue, by the way, and he's speaking the dialogue. He thinks it's being recorded, you see. It's not being recorded. What's being recorded is this, this, this.
He said, you don't know the truth. Obi-Wan killed your father.
And then, of course, we re-recorded everything.
I'll never join you!
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
When I first saw the dialogue that said, Luke, I am your father, I said to myself, he's lying. I wonder how they're going to play that lie out.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
No. I am your father.
And I screamed, no, just as it was meant to be.
Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
I think that it went beyond Star Wars. You got to know the characters a little better. You had some humor.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
I thought of the film as a second movement of a symphony. That's why I wanted some of the things slower. And it ends in a way that you can't wait to see, to hear the Vivace, the next movie, the Allegretto. I didn't have a climax at the end. I had an emotional climax.
As Empire's premiere date approached, the producers once again held their collective breath. When The Empire Strikes Back finally opened on May 21st, 1980, it didn't meet expectations, it surpassed them. Within 3 months, George Lucas had recovered his $33 million investment.
There was something about Empire that just immediately just clicked when I saw it. I didn't know how all the romance was going to work and the adventure, and was it too serious and all this sort of stuff. But it really came together.
Until its premiere, cases of lightning striking twice were rare in Hollywood. Sequels were almost always a letdown. But in the Star Wars universe, different laws applied, and George Lucas, the world's most successful independent filmmaker, was fast becoming a law unto himself. In a radical move by Hollywood standards, he shared Empire's profits with every one of his employees. handing out over $5 million in bonuses in 1980. The profits from the 2 Star Wars films also helped fuel Lucas's rapidly expanding business enterprises.
We did have some money, but it was still a startup company. We could have messed it up as much as we did it right. But his ability to make successful movies is what drove the financial success of the company. But how we used those funds to grow the company and why he has a net worth the way he does, he was smart enough to understand all the rights, all the ancillaries.
By financing The Empire Strikes Back with his own money, George Lucas had bet the farm and won. In fact, he was in a position to build his own kind of farm, Skywalker Ranch in Marin County, California. Lucas had long imagined a visually inspiring setting, where his employees could work in a creative atmosphere, and where friends like Steven Spielberg, Robert Redford, and Francis Ford Coppola could enjoy working at a state-of-the-art facility.
George was debating on 2 different parcels of land. One was on Lucas Valley Road. And I said, well, that's the one you have to pick.
The company structure supported multi-movies in all areas, merchandising, special effects, ancillaries.
And so all the little companies had to be started and operated and have all these systems put in place.
LucasArts, THX, Skywalker Sound, Industrial Light and Magic. Each subsidiary of Lucasfilm would serve George Lucas's creative vision. In turn, they revolutionized a film industry that had for too long been plagued by complacency.
It was an idea of one person and successfully implemented. George is one of the more successful companies in the world, and you can't measure it just by size because he doesn't need the size of a Fox or a Warner's to accomplish the same thing he's accomplishing in putting out his films.
As the sole owner of the most successful franchise in movie history, Lucas had gained the financial means and the creative freedom to produce anything he wanted.
George's greatest strength as a filmmaker is that he's a great storyteller. George has a vision. There are filmmakers down through history like Capra and John Ford, and they made John Ford pictures and Frank Capra pictures, and Hitchcock made Hitchcock films, and George Lucas makes George Lucas pictures.
George Lucas had helped turn the tide of Hollywood's downbeat realism and brought back a sense of fantasy and wonder. Movies were fun again. But in the wake of Empire, the filmmaker found himself unexpectedly mired in Hollywood politics. To preserve the dramatic opening sequences of his films, Lucas wanted the screen credits to come at the end of the movies. It was a highly unusual choice. And for the first Star Wars, the Writers Guild and Directors Guild had allowed it. But when Lucas did the same for the sequel, they fined him over $250,000 and even attempted to pull Empire from theaters. Next, the DGA went after Irvin Kershner. To protect his director, Lucas paid all the fines to the guilds, but the situation left him feeling frustrated and persecuted.
Lucas was so upset that he dropped out of the Directors Guild, the Writers Guild, and the Motion Picture Association.
Another unfortunate casualty in the wake of Empire was Alan Ladd Jr., Lucas's most vocal supporter at 20th Century Fox.
The criticism over the deal is what ended my tenure at Fox, really, because people were very angry and irritated, even though they made millions of dollars off it, and had a big fight, stomped out of the boardroom, and said I quit. That was it.
20th Century Fox ultimately paid a heavy price for Ladd's departure. With his longtime ally gone from the studio, Lucas decided to go to Paramount with his latest movie idea, an action-adventure yarn called Raiders of the Lost Ark. George Lucas had fought and won the battle to gain his independence as a filmmaker. But the war between his Rebel Alliance and the Galactic Empire was far from over. As he began production on the final chapter of his Star Wars saga, he knew expectations among fans and critics would be greater than ever before. The project was a high-stakes gamble, with Lucas once again putting up every dollar himself. Nothing about the film, not even the smallest detail, could be taken for granted.
George came to me and he said, the title of episode 6 is Return of the Jedi. And I said, I think it's a weak title. And he came back 1 or 2 days later and he says, we're calling it Revenge of the Jedi.
Choosing the film's title was just the beginning. Jedi would require thousands of production decisions on both sides of the globe.
We were constructing really in 2 places in California, shooting at ILM, that's 3, and of course working and shooting in London at the same time.
As Lucas discovered, independence was a double-edged sword. Quitting the Directors Guild made it impossible for him to hire his first choice, Steven Spielberg. Instead, Lucas chose Welshman Richard Marquand, best known for the World War II thriller Eye of the Needle. As the two met with Lawrence Kasdan to discuss Jedi's script, a key issue was whether Harrison Ford, who was now equally famous